Hello and welcome to another edition of the Forecast here at blog4k.com. This is the episode 2. In case you missed the first episode, remember to check that one out because we had a chat about Hunted and the new BBC TV series. Today it's a completely different subject, and we're actually going to be talking about the Formula One. That's kind of how we do things at blog4k. We talk about one subject and then go to something completely different that makes no sense at all. But anyway, joining me today is Daniel Butler.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Yes, very well.
You didn't expect that question, did you?
No.
Tell me your life story. But anyway, yeah, here we are today to talk about the Japanese Grand Prix that happened over the weekend, and also the other bits and pieces of news in F1 that's happened over the last couple of weeks. Mainly Hamilton, really. That's kind of the big bit of news. But yeah, let's start off with the race then, this weekend. What did you think of it?
Yeah, quite a dramatic race from the first lap or two anyway. I think it'll be remembered more for Alonso's incident at the first corner. Obviously taking him out, scoring 0 points is only his second DNF of the season. And obviously Vettel gaining a really valuable 25 points for first place as well, which closes the gap to Alonso to 4 points at the top of the championship.
That's the important thing. I mean, it's a complete change around from how it was. I mean, we thought Alonso had won the championship, and now, well, it's all open. And could Vettel do it again? That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Another comeback, like a few years ago. I mean, that wasn't the only incident that happened on that first go. It really all kind of happened on the first lap, didn't it, really?
Yeah,
most of the action. It was an all right Grand Prix as a whole.
I think that and the other two people that joined Vettel on the podium, Kobayashi and Felipe Massa, of course, two people who you wouldn't expect to see up there, but it was quite good to see them up there.
Well, yeah, I was impressed actually with Massa. I was impressed how he kept up the pace after the start, because he obviously got lucky at the beginning, avoided all the crashes that happened, but then he actually managed to keep it up there and actually did better tactics and was faster than Kobayashi and Button and jumped them in the pits, didn't he?
I think that might be one thing as well that might keep Alonso's hopes up for the championship. A lot of people are now saying, even though Alonso's still in the lead by 4 points, that Alonso's going to find it tough because the Red Bull is on such good form. But you can see Felipe Massa's performance at the weekend does show that Ferrari have quite a bit of pace, and maybe more pace than McLaren have got at the moment. Yeah,
you'd have to question McLaren actually how they're doing for pace. I mean, both, although to be fair, 4th and 5th for McLaren's isn't too bad.
After probably a poor qualifying
from
their standards as
poor
well.
Qualifying. Hamilton did really well actually to come from where he was. I mean, he was really starting to push towards the back of Button right at the end of the race. So he did look like he was in worse position, certainly from the start. And he said after qualifying that they had the setup completely wrong, didn't he? But of course, the real surprise, really, the weekend was Kobayashi.
Yep. Yeah, it's home Grand Prix to get his first podium, and absolutely amazing scenes with the fans at the end chanting his name, impressive. Waving all the flags and banners. And I'm pretty surprised that there's so much talk about, will Kobayashi get a seat at Sauber next season? Yeah. He should be there at least at Sauber, if not a better team.
Well, this is the crazy thing. I mean, what he's achieved is pretty much just as good as what Perez did earlier on in the season. And yet he's being talked about leaving.
Yeah.
And yet Perez is going off to McLaren. Yeah. Which seems a bit of an extreme difference between the two.
Yeah, he's one of the best racers on the grid. And, okay, he's been outperformed a little bit by Perez. Not this weekend, though. But I think that despite him being such a good racer and wanting to overtake a lot, he doesn't seem to get in too many accidents.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, he seems pretty consistent with what he does. And okay, maybe he doesn't qualify as well as Perez and stuff, but he does seem to have some good races. And I'm quite surprised that at least, I mean, in terms of quality this season, he's been up there and doing all right. And I'm quite surprised that they want to get rid of him.
Just looking at the championship table, Kobayashi is in 11th place. Perez is only 1 place ahead of him in 10th place. And it's 16 points.
Howard Dresser and
Dresser and Hulkenberg, 12th and 14th.
Well, yeah, that's the important bit. I mean, if here's all this talk about Dresser and Hulkenberg going to possibly Ferrari, you know, their possible options for for Ferrari if they choose to not stick with Massa. But then, if that's the case, in terms of the championship table, you'd have to say Kobayashi would make most sense, really, because they're all in roughly the same kind of powered car and all that. You know, they're all pretty close in terms of mid-pack teams.
Yeah.
But Sauber certainly, the Sauber duo have certainly done better than everyone else, and really quite impressed this season.
They are definitely the best young team that Formula One has seen in quite a while. I know Toro Rosso have tried to put a couple of young teams together, but still they've stayed pretty consistently around the bottom end of the midfield.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing. If Sauber chose to get rid of Kobayashi next season, that's going to surely make a bit of a mess for them for the start of next season, because they won't have any drivers.
No, unless they've got another two young drivers. I can't see them going for more experienced drivers.
Well, no, I mean, they don't have really much sponsorship on their cars. They can't have a huge amount of income, but you would have thought they would have gone with someone who they know and trust that it's going to get around the track pretty well, you know, rather than completely gambling it on someone new.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, they've built up quite a bit of a reputation this season for doing quite well in some of the races.
Yeah. If I was Sauber, I'd definitely keep Kobayashi.
Yeah.
And if I was a team who needed a driver up towards the front of the grid, then I think I'd go for Kobayashi as well.
Because the question is then, who joins, if Kobayashi stays, who joins Kobayashi at Sauber? Because there's obviously that place is free at the moment. That's the only guaranteed empty slot at the moment in Formula One.
Well, going back to Massa's podium, it looks like that has possibly earned him his drive at Ferrari for next season as well.
Well, yeah, so that's kind of, it's reduced the amount of possible movement of drivers, certainly. And I guess the only people that you could probably look at is probably Di Resta or Hülkenberg, but would they just go across to someone like Sauber? Or is that too much of a risky move? Because they could. Yeah. For all we know, they could end up at the back of the grid again next season.
Yeah, in terms of size, Force India is a bigger team than Sauber.
Yeah.
But in terms of pace and points this season anyway, Sauber have beaten Force India. So, yeah, it's a gamble. What do you do?
It is complete. I mean, all those mid-teams have that issue of... I mean, although the rules aren't changing next season, so I guess it's going to be pretty much the same in terms of positioning of cars and all, and they'll just all get a bit faster. But in terms of, you know, is there going to be a massive difference, and is it worth a driver moving from one mid-team to another mid-team, unless they are getting pushed? Probably not at the moment. And I guess maybe we'll see a new driver in at Sauber.
Yeah. Seem to have a good habit, though, of bringing in good young drivers.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe with a bit of sponsorship attached as well, but when they turn out to be good drivers, that doesn't matter as much.
No. I mean, there's been good and bad examples down the grid of paid drivers where they've, you know, have been a useful part of the team, while other times they've just clearly been there.
Yeah.
Just look at HRT.
Yep.
But looking further down the grid at the after the Japanese Grand Prix, chatting about the Force India team, once again, did all right, nothing too special.
Yeah. Hülkenberg got in the points with 7th, Paul Di Resta got 12th. So
there was meant to be an issue. I did hear an interview, actually. Paul Di Resta did have an issue with something.
Did he?
Yes, but I can't remember what it was. That's
our
research on this programme.
He seems to have more issues than Hülkenberg.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah.
But, yeah, Hülkenberg again, strong 7th place, proving his point for maybe a bigger drive next season. But it really is, I think it's quite even between Hülkenberg and Di Resta.
Yeah.
I think they're two pretty good young drivers. One week one gets the luck and the other one, goes further down the field and doesn't get any points. So they sort of swap. I don't think there's been one weekend where both Force India drivers have been right up there in the points.
Yeah.
It's either been one or the other. So they're quite even in that sense.
I wouldn't really pick between one or the other in terms of, he's definitely going to be the next driver. I mean, I think they both need more time to improve and things like that. I don't think either of them are ready for a drive at Ferrari or another big team just yet.
I think now Di Resta's been there a couple of seasons now at Force India. Or is it 3? 2 or 3 seasons?
I think it's 2. Yeah.
He's starting to get a bit itchy feet, really.
Yeah.
You get the feeling he wants to move on to a bigger team.
Yeah, but then at the same
Just
time,
waiting.
has he proved enough yet to? I mean, maybe a move to Sauber would be a good idea if things were in the position. Then we would, if Paul di Resta was in a Sauber car right now this season, I wonder how well he would do. I wonder what kind of positioning would he be.
Yeah.
Would it be about the same as Perez, for example?
Yeah.
Because that would be quite interesting if that was the case. Because then the case would he be going to McLaren? But that's not in the position we're in at the moment. But never know. Maybe he'll change his mind for next season to where he stays or goes.
It's got to be frustrating that they're all waiting for the Red Bull, Ferrari or McLaren driver to move.
Yeah, pretty much.
McLaren driver's just moved and now Perez is in the seat. So that one's sorted straight away. So now I've got to wait maybe another season or two for one of the 6 to move on. Because
there's been rumours that Vettel has agreed to go to Ferrari at some point in the future, like several years' time. So it's pretty much guaranteed. So maybe that's why they're hanging on to Massa, just to be like, well, he's doing all right at the moment, I guess. And then have Vettel as the true kind of person to carry on from Alonso, which I guess would make sense.
Yeah. I don't know when Alonso would retire though.
Yeah, it's nowhere near.
No.
I mean, it's probably more likely Button's going to retire first.
Yeah,
so
Webber and Button would be the two.
Yeah.
To retire first, but then again, you'd say 3 or maybe 4 seasons time. You're looking at that happening. So it must be quite frustrating for any young driver coming in and wanting a really big seat.
Well, there's not much room at the bottom either, is there, really, for young drivers to get in at the moment? I mean, most drivers have been pretty much the same for the last few years, really, isn't it? There hasn't been much movement in terms of this season. Did we see any new drivers this season? At the start of the season? I'm trying to think.
Ricciardo and Verne coming in at Toro Rosso.
Verne, it was the main new. I mean, Ricciardo had a few races at HRT last season, so yeah.
Hulkenberg at Force India was in for Satil.
Yeah, and he had his previous bit at Williams, didn't he? Before they chose to go for Maldonado instead.
The Lotus went for Raikkonen and Grosjean.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
So I think that's probably a better team really than what they had last season. Although it was Heifeld and Petrov, which were a sort of team just scrambled together at the last moment.
Yeah, it was.
When Kubica went out with his injury, going back.
Kubica decided to go rallying and then getting injured again or something, didn't he? Twice he's been injured. Be interesting to see if we ever do see him back in F1 actually. Yeah. Kubica.
No, I don't think there's a seat at Lotus.
No.
Well, I don't know actually.
Maybe.
Maybe they don't trust Grosjean as much.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. Kubica and Raikkonen together. Two ex-rally drivers.
I think Grosjean will go on to be a really good Formula One driver. It's whether Lotus have that trust in him now.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the hard thing. I mean, everyone's having a go at him for 2 mistakes, really, that were proper big ones. Everything else I think he's probably done are not really worth arguing about. And yeah, everyone's kind of saying, oh yeah, he shouldn't be an F1 kind of thing. It's like, that's a bit harsh, really.
He stormed GP2.
Yeah, this is the thing, yeah. He did great in GP2. I mean, that's the one argument for Paul di Resta, is that he beat Vettel in the lower series. Yeah. So, you know, maybe if they were in the same car, he would do better. I don't know. But so far, I haven't seen anything too amazing by di Resta. He gets the car round. That seems to be it, really. Yeah. Nothing too wow. Team that didn't do very well at the weekend is Mercedes. Hamilton's new team.
Yeah. Move on to this one.
Yeah, it's the team he wants to go to. The team that can struggle there.
Yeah, I mean, his interview during the week, just before the Japanese Grand Prix, was all about, he was talking about his move, as in he wants a new challenge and he wants to win in like a struggling car. But I think, haven't McLaren had their struggles this season? Quite a lot of them.
If you want a struggling car, just stick in the one you've got.
Yeah. And he's not really taken the most out of a struggling McLaren car at times. So, I don't know, I can see him getting even more frustrated in the struggling Mercedes car, unless they do something drastic over the winter.
Well, yeah, I mean, he said in the interview how he wants to do like how Michael Schumacher did with Ferrari all those years ago, where he completely built the team around him and managed to, you know, take car from not being very good to then suddenly winning the championship year after year after year.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that would happen nowadays. Just
No.
mainly because they don't have as much testing. So it's not
No.
like you can keep going around the track a million times
Yeah.
hoping to learn something. I mean, they've got their limited testing. And I mean, the gamble really is on 2014 with the engine change, really. That's the bit that he's hoping.
Yeah.
Because the rules will be wiped clean and hopefully they'll gain something out of it, I guess.
But even that's in debate now, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Even, Bernie Ecclestone put a question over that, whether or not they want to go forward with the smaller engine cars, partly because they don't sound very good, apparently. And Ferrari have had an issue about that as well. And Ferrari said about the cost is just too high. The lower teams don't like the idea of it because it's too expensive.
Yeah.
And they'd rather stick with what they've got. And the only people seem to be really up for it are Mercedes, because they're building the engine and they've already paid for it pretty much, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a big gamble for Hamilton, and I guess it makes sense to go to a new team to try something different. But you wouldn't really think Mercedes are the team to do that. Although if you rename that and say it's Brawn GP, would that be a different case? I mean,
if Mercedes hadn't come in.
Well, yeah, I imagine if they managed to survive fine, because it's the same team essentially. It is, nothing's changed there. But
No.
if they were called still Brawn GP, everyone would be like saying, oh, what, they won the World Championship only 2 seasons ago,
Yeah.
or 3 seasons ago. So then you look at it that way and go, well, actually, I guess they're in just as a good position as McLaren, really, to
Yeah.
win the championship. Probably better position.
Mm.
But yeah, and Rosberg.
Mm.
I mean, is he doing well this season, or is he just doing
Well,
all
he's
right? I don't
only
know.
just had his first retirement of the season in Japan.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So quite
that's
consistent
impressive.
from him. Certainly outperformed Schumacher this season.
Yeah, time and time again.
But then mainly Schumacher's fault, really, for that.
Schumacher can't get to the end of the race anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe he just like gets tired or something and can't be bothered to finish.
I don't know. It would be interesting, the competition between Hamilton and Rosberg in the same team.
Yeah, because you don't really ever hear much about Rosberg, really.
No, he's quite quiet when
Yeah,
he talks to the media. Keeps his head down.
yeah. You
I
don't
guess
get.
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
A bit like Raikkonen.
yeah. Actually, yeah. They are very similar in that sense.
He's a German Raikkonen.
Rosberg, the German record. But yeah, I mean, we haven't really heard much about him. I mean, he won the race earlier in the season, which is impressive.
Mm.
That was China, wasn't it, that he won?
Yeah.
So that was impressive, and so maybe they're up there, and then it's just kind of faded away really, and consistently getting the top 10, but not really that
Yeah.
amazingly. But yeah,
I mean, Mercedes had a very good car at the start of the season,
yeah.
and it really has faded away.
Hmm.
And Schumacher should have picked up a lot more points during that good spell at the start of the season than he has.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, should have got a lot more points, Mercedes. And I guess Hamilton is hoping that they can find the same car again at the start of next season.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess that's the hope, and I guess my only question with Hamilton is he really a guy who would develop a team? I get the idea that he probably just pops in, does his bit, and then he probably goes off writing a new song with some sort of DJ or something. Like if it was him or like Button, I'd imagine Button probably spends more time like developing the car and she's spending time doing that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine Hamilton putting in enough time to make a big enough difference to the team, really, to suddenly get them from where they are now to suddenly winning races. It's quite a difference. They need to make quite a change, I think, to be able to do that.
Yeah, in comparison to, obviously he's taking Schumacher's seat as well, so they've got to get used to Schumacher, who will want everything to his setting and his standards, and now Hamilton coming in.
Yeah, and well, Schumacher, of course, leaving for a second time.
Yep.
His second retirement.
Yeah. Any Schumacher fans will be obviously disappointed again, but probably more disappointed that he hasn't made an impact at all.
Yeah, it's a shame we hadn't seen him just do like one race. It'd be nice to have maybe you never know, it might happen before the end of the season, but it'd be nice to have seen him win like one race or something, just to be like, oh, that was nice.
He got close a couple of times.
Yeah,
It
Monaco
looked
looked like it should have been the time with his pole position.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a question is, should he have ever returned?
Yeah, I think personally, I think it was partly his determination and love for Formula One to come back in the first place, but also partly Mercedes were willing to give him that contract, and they wanted that sponsorship, and they wanted Schumacher on their car as well,
Yeah, no,
and in their team.
it probably was more of a, well, I guess that both sides kind of both had their reasons for
Yeah.
coming together, like, I guess.
And obviously Ross Brawn as well knows Schumacher very
Yeah,
well.
that's true.
With Mercedes coming in, they might have worked it out that Mercedes coming in, German manufacturer, German driver,
the best known driver, yeah.
A lot of German sponsorship on their cars and hats and all that kind of stuff.
We did hear in one podcast we listened to, didn't we? They said about how it hasn't reignited Germans' love for Formula One, and that him leaving will now maybe put even more doubt into the German Grand Prix. Well, I think that's a bit random.
I can't believe Vettel isn't liked
Yeah.
in Germany.
It's like, yeah, I think everyone's forgotten his nationality or something for a
Yeah.
moment.
He's a double world champion.
Maybe triple by the end of this year.
Yeah.
And, here he is.
All the Schumacher fans should surely now be supporting Vettel. They should have supported Vettel once he won his first world championship in 2010. He's taking over. He's definitely taking over as the main German driver from Schumacher.
Yeah, and for God's sakes, German fans, be happy.
And they've got Rosberg
We're world champions.
and who else was it? Hulkenberg.
And
Glock.
Yeah, who forgot Glock?
Timo Glock.
Speaking of Glock, let's go to the back of the grid, the other end of the grid. Virgin. How did they do at the weekend? I'm not sure how they did. I think one of them crashed out.
Let's have a look. Just
I think Peak crashed out. I'm not sure about.
yeah, Peak and hello, Glock 16th.
Hey.
Yeah,
Hey.
we've got Kovalainen in 15th, Glock in 16th, and Petrov in 17th,
That sounds impressive.
and De La Rosa in 18th. So yeah, they all finished.
Because the interesting thing about Virgin, which it's not Virgin, sorry, Marussia. Sorry, it's in the wrong team now. I still think because they got the same colours, they kind of look like the same team, really. Even though
Richard Branson will pay us later.
Yeah, thank
Mentioning
you.
Virgin.
Yeah. Mentioned it 3 times now. Product placement. Yeah, I mean they interestingly don't have KERS in their car, and they've been saying because they're getting quite fast.
Caterham do have KERS, don't
Yeah,
they?
Caterham do have KERS, but they're just as fast as Caterham, who do have KERS, but they don't have. So the question is, next season when they do have KERS, are they going to be up there with the mid-pack teams? Yes, they'll be at the back of them, but will it be between them and Toro Rosso? That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'd like to see that. We just need one of the teams really to go up there.
it's about time, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of those teams starts advancing.
Yeah.
We thought Caterham would do it, but they really haven't.
They definitely need it to do that, to survive really. One of them needs to make a push soon.
Yeah.
Surely they'll just be
Sponsors will ask questions, won't it? What's the point?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And even the drivers, Kovalainen will start looking, well, why am I running around the back of the grid all the time?
Definitely Kovalainen went from McLaren to
Yeah.
what was Lotus, now Caterham. Obviously to get this new team into the midfield and maybe start getting some consistent points. I wonder what their target was and what Kovalainen's contract is.
Yeah.
If it's like a 3-season contract.
That could be an interesting move, wouldn't it? Kovalainen to Sauber. Think about that one. There you go, I just said it, it's out there.
Yeah.
Let the rumours spread. Kovalainen's moving to Sauber, that's my prediction.
It's weird, he's far outperforming Petrov,
Yeah.
who everyone thought was pretty good at Renault,
Yeah.
and now he's not really doing as well at Caterham.
So maybe it proves that although Kovalainen couldn't quite do it at McLaren, perhaps that was too big of a step for him. Maybe there's a place for him at a team like Sauber or somewhere like that.
Yeah, possibly.
Someone who's established enough, who knows the. Yeah, because he is quite. Well, he's actually very experienced now. He's had several years in F1.
Depends which direction Sauber want to go, really. Whether they want to keep youth or go for someone a bit more experienced.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing, isn't it? It's always the balance between getting the two. Obviously, McLaren have gone with the whole split thing of going young driver for the future, experienced driver for setting up the car and guaranteeing results.
In some ways, that's what Red Bull has sort of done as well.
Yeah, and Red Bull, they did it with. I mean, Vettel, you could argue, was quite a risk when they moved him in after DC left.
Yeah.
Because they had two quite experienced drivers, didn't they? Coulthard and Webber.
Yeah.
And I bet Coulthard's kicking himself after the season after he leaves.
Yeah.
They go and win the championship. But he's thinking, damn, I should stay one more year. One more year and I could have been world champion.
Well, it was Braun that won 09, I think.
2 more years. I could
But still, Red Bull right up there, competing with Braun that season.
And he could have been. That would have kept him going for another year again. Wouldn't it? He would have definitely stayed 2 more years if he had been in that. But and then I guess Ferrari, have been one team. Although they've never gone with the young driver thing, have they? Ferrari, they've always gone. We want 2 established drivers, really.
No, it'd be interesting to see how many young Ferrari drivers in that program have come up to actually drive for Ferrari.
Yeah, yeah, true. Now Perez going over.
Massa was one of them, wasn't he? I think.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I have no idea. Send us in a message at blog4k. That's our Twitter name. If you know a better answer to that one. That's kind of looking down the grid. We've gone all the way through the grid. And I guess we should finish off the race because we kind of started talking about the race and then we kind of got distracted by all the teams and the positions they finished.
We got to the first lap. So lap 2.
Lap 2 was a great lap. There was a safety car for like the entire lap. It was amazing. And for some reason they didn't bother showing any replays. Did you notice that? They didn't show any replays of the opening crash until after the safety car had finished.
Really?
I was like, you got all that time where the safety car's just going around in circles and nothing really important is happening. And yet they didn't show the replays at the beginning. So people complained about them in the past though. They are quite slow, aren't they, for getting the replays up sometimes.
Yeah.
And they do have an obsession, Formula One management, of showing a replay of a car slowly going over a bump.
They love the curves.
Yeah, they do love the curves. It's just, especially with Massa, it looked like the same shot twice in the race. They showed the same shot of Massa going over the same curve, and it's just like, well, why? Yeah, great. You know, I think one time it had a little spark coming at the bottom, and the other time it didn't. That was the difference.
The good shots are if someone's on really worn tyres and they show the slow motion shot of all this rubber slowly drifting off it, and they've got a huge mark in the middle of their tyre. That's when it looks quite cool. Yeah,
I think they need to look at
the wear on their tyres.
They need to look at slow-mo and how to use it a bit differently, I think. I mean, that's probably a discussion for another day. We could probably talk about that for ages. Because I know there's a lot of debate online in terms of how it's broadcast and well, listen, there's a whole... Actually, yes, that's something we should lead on to, actually. I haven't even put down on here. The other big announcement between... Well, okay, it wasn't between, it was actually last week with Jake Humphrey leaving BBC F1.
Yeah, it will be quite sad to split up the team of Jake, DC and EJ.
I mean, they've become quite iconic really as a team, haven't they? I mean, they are the F1 presenters. I think globally, I think that people see them as that kind of, you know, in China or in Japan, they all support the BBC team. So obviously it's different compared to like, say, the Italian channel or something like that, where they don't really care.
Jake's going to BT to host the football,
which is a bit of a risk for him. I was going to do a blog post, so keep an eye out on blog4k.com about that, because I was going to talk more in depth about him moving and possibly.
I wouldn't say it's a risk in terms of the money he's getting.
No, financially, great idea. He's also, his wife's pregnant now, so I think it makes sense to be staying in the country.
In terms of BT, they've got someone who he really connects with people who watch the programme as well, and getting more people to watch the programme.
And they can bring a completely new style of broadcasting football in, can't they, into it, which will be, I think it'll be a good move.
I don't know any football presenter that does that at the moment.
No.
That's on Twitter, and
they're all quite old guys that don't really care about much, and they just get their paycheck and they do the 2 hours of broadcast or whatever it is for a football match.
Gary Lineker's on Twitter, but
yeah, does he really do anything that's half interesting? Does he really engage with anyone?
Hi Gary.
Yeah, hi Gary. Enjoying the podcast. But yeah, we're going a bit off topic. We're going to talk. We're ending up talking about football. We're actually it should be about Formula One. This one. We are now on lap 3 of the race, where we'll skip ahead, I think. And nothing really else major happened in the race, really, did it? We had some very quick pit stops, very, very quick ones. I think McLaren did like a 2.5, and I think was it for Webb? No, Webb went out, so it must have been for Vettel. They did a 2.3, I think.
Really?
Yeah, for Vettel, which is ridiculously quick. getting 4 tyres off a car in that time and back on again.
That's crazy.
No, that is kind of crazy speeds, how they were doing that. And I'm trying to think what else happened later on in the Grand Prix.
Well, I think the main bit towards the end was, can Button catch Kobayashi for third?
And that was impressive with Kobayashi.
Yeah, it was. Even Button, who's really knows how to manage his car and manage his tyres quite well, complimented Kobayashi on the way he did that.
Yeah.
It was very impressive, and actually the both of them were catching Massa at the end because Kobayashi was pushing so much to get away from Button.
No, that was an impressive showing from Kobayashi, and it does. I can't imagine he'll be considered to get dropped next season now. They'd be mad if they were to drop him because, like I say, he's pretty much the same as Perez. Yeah, depending on the day of the week that you race with them, one day Perez will do really well. Perez did do some really good racing in the race before he crashed. He overtook Hamilton, which is quite a nice thing to see.
Yeah.
Saying, "Hey, look, that's my seat next year." But then he tried it again.
Hamilton blocked it, didn't he?
Yeah, and did probably what Hamilton should. He probably gave it away a bit too easily the first time. The second time he did what he should have done, which is blocked it off.
Yeah.
And
Perez didn't expect it and just went to the outside.
And completely lost his grip, didn't he?
Yeah. He said that was his fault. I mean, it was good defending by Hamilton in the first place, recognising that would happen.
Yeah.
And I guess a bit of inexperience by Perez.
Yeah, unfortunate, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter, does it? They're not.
I don't think that will worry McLaren too much.
No, in terms of Sauber, they're not in a position where they're going to win the championship. Yes, I guess the extra few points is good, and they could beat Mercedes, ironically, to the final points in the constructors. But other than that, it's not too important. And actually, him having a go at it and showing how well he can race is probably more important, isn't it, really, for him? And it's probably what he cares more about. If he had overtaken Hamilton and actually stayed ahead of him, then that would have been the talking point, how he overtook him and finished the race like that.
Yeah.
So
that would have been a big talking point.
Yeah, so I guess it was a worthwhile attempt, even if it didn't really work out for him. But yeah, so that was pretty much the end of the race then, and an interesting final 3 on the podium, with Vettel obviously gaining those 25 points, and now he's only 4 points behind. And then, of course, Massa getting his first podium in 2 years, which is massive for him.
A great podium for Vettel, you'd say. Not to get there, but the other people around him. Kobayashi and Massa, people who aren't challenging for the title. And the nearest proper challenger, you'd say, is Hamilton in 5th.
Yeah.
So Vettel had a great race.
No, it was a perfect race for Vettel, really.
Yeah.
He does seem to get the luck when he needs it, kind of thing.
And he seemed very happy indeed afterwards, as you would be, really. But
question is this going to be another 2010 ending? Is this going to get to the point where last minute Vettel is going to overtake Alonso, do you think?
Well, a lot of people are saying it will happen before.
Yeah,
now.
well, they've got so many races left.
People are almost writing Alonso off. He's 4 points in the lead. He's never going to do it.
He's crap. He's never going to be able to do very well at that.
But I think, like I said before, Alonso can take heart from what Massa just did, because he's shown that Ferrari have a bit of pace, a bit more than people thought anyway. It's
going to be interesting, isn't it? Because, I mean, Alonso's going to have to race incredibly well every race, like he has done, to be fair, every race since, but he's going to have to keep doing that and keep doing it. He can't make another mistake, really. And
it's the point now where if Alonso finishes third and Vettel finishes first, it's not of benefit to Alonso now. He needs to get ahead of Vettel.
The question is, can Vettel keep it up? I mean, Red Bull have always been naturally strong at Singapore and Japan. So, is the next race in Korea, is that going to really be their race? That's the question. We've only seen them in the last 2 years when they've been quite strong anyway. So I guess it's hard to judge that one. And of course, the new American Grand Prix. God knows what that's going to be like.
Yeah. Still lots happening this season coming
there's
up.
Plenty more to see. You never know. I mean, it's still possible. We could see Raikkonen win the World Championship.
Yeah. He probably needs a win.
Yeah. Imagine if he won it without winning. That would be terrible.
Yeah. That would be crazy.
But you never know. He could do it. There's still a possibility that could happen. There's enough races there and enough points.
If anyone thinks Hamilton's still in the championship, then Raikkonen definitely is.
Well, yeah, certainly the case. But I think we'll wrap that up for this edition of the forecast. It's been good chatting to you, Dan, about the F1.
Yes, very good.
I'm sure we'll do another episode for F1 episode next time, the next Grand Prix. When is the next Grand Prix?
Korea next week.
Next week. Okay, so you never know, you might get a podcast next Monday. And we could be sitting here saying Raikkonen is going to be the world champion. That could be our prediction for next week, but who knows? Anyway, make sure that you follow us and tweet us at blog4k. That's our tweet address. And also remember to check out the website blog4k.com. Remember to subscribe to hopefully our iTunes if we can get it working. I don't think we have yet, but we'll try and get that sorted on there. And also remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we like to chuck up the odd video every now and then. And probably the next podcast will be something TV related, so make sure you keep coming back to blog4k.com to keep an eye on when that's going to happen. I've been Jonathan Palfrey.
I've been Daniel Butler.
That was a really slow reaction.
Sorry. I wasn't expecting that.
Dan was already looking at the internet and it already ended. But anyway, it's been a great time.
I was looking back at the last year's Korean Grand Prix. And it was 2 Red Bulls on the podium, so
there you go.
They look good at Korea.
So forget everything we just said. It's Vettel. He's going to win the World Championship. Thank you very much for listening to the forecast. We'll speak to you next time.